Hot winds ripped by, whipping his dark hood against the sides of his face. The sweat on his bare skin glistened under the relentless sunlight. With each step on the desolate wasteland, he left a crisp footprint that would quickly erode in these harsh conditions. Though he bore no shirt from his waist up, a long coat hung from his shoulders, providing shade and protection from the elements. Raising a hand to his eyes to block the sun, he paused to check his surroundings. An eerie buzzing on the wind joined a distant whistle. His destination was near, which only concerned him that much more. A few more hours of walking allowed the sun to move toward the distant horizon. The rough gales had dwindled enough that his hood no longer threatened to blow back. Suddenly he stopped and stood in place. The hood shaded his eyes as he lifted his face to sniff the breeze. "It stinks out here," he muttered quietly, taking in a whiff and then snorting it back out. He sneered. "Yep, that's the stench of corrupt magic." Just then, that distant buzzing returned, only it was all around him. The sound grew until it drowned out any other noise of the wastelands. From his limited viewpoint, Stefan could see little shadows dashing all over the ground. The swarm had arrived. There must be a nest nearby. A bright purple blast of magic shot at him, but he deftly jumped clear of it. One after another, he avoided being struck by the imp magic raining down on him. He punched a few creatures that got close enough to grab at him, and even kicked one right as it rushed at his legs. He wasn't in a panic. It was more like an intricate dance he had practiced 1,000 times. Finally, he deflected a blast of magic with one hand, and then clapped both of his hands together above his head. A blinding wave of gold magic exploded from him. Some were obliterated by the force, but most were merely tossed away. Those that did not die screeched in agony, for this was no ordinary magic. Their wings had a glowing singe that remained from the attack. Stefan at last removed his hood. Only now could he honestly see. He had done all of this without even using most of his sight. Brushing his hands off, he strolled onward toward his destination. Before him was the infamous ancient wrecked ship. It had been hidden in the wastelands for centuries, protected by the Shallan from outsiders. He mused aloud, knowing that one other person was listening. "My lady, I expected more than a little swarm of imps." He wasn't speaking directly to her, but he did get an answer. Just then, a dozen dark wolves came rushing out of the remains of the wreck, shadowy and vicious. These constructs of corrupt magic were unrelenting and tenfold worse than imps could ever dream about being. "Ah, now this is more like it." He actually grinned at the approaching beasts. Slowly, he untied the cord around his neck, and then put his right hand on the cloak over his left shoulder. He whispered a spell as the robe shimmered with a golden hue. As soon as the wolves arrived, he swiftly pulled the cloak free and swung it around like a weapon. It flashed through the air, flowing with precision. He sliced one wolf in half with a quick strike of the cloak, wrapped another around the neck, and smashed it against his knee, crushing its skull upon impact. He kicked another. Stefan slammed the whole cape down, destroying the creature. One after another, he met their assault with efficient destruction. Each wolf that was killed puffed away like smoke on the wind. The whole time he kept the cloak ever moving, his fabric flowing on the air with the elegance of a dancer and exactness of a master warrior. With one last swing of the cloak around him, he slipped it back over his shoulders, while thrusting a hand out and catching the final wolf with a blast of light. The creature was destroyed instantly, not even leaving a tendril of smoke in its wake. Standing there, before the wrecked ship, perfectly calm, he addressed her. "Mistress, show yourself." The shadows inside the decimated ship grew deep and unnaturally dark. Then, as if they were oil, they oozed together and lifted into the air. A living shadow formed into the visage of a woman. Though remarkable in beauty, the wickedness seeped out of her every expression. She spoke a distant echo to her voice. "Stefan, my handsome lover has returned." "I was never your lover, and I never shall be,"